Cameron Murray, and I'm recording my course analysis for ACTE 632. So this is a course I was enrolled in a while back in my program. This is EdFin 604. And so I'm going to be analyzing it using the QM K through 12 rubric. So let's first take a look at the course overview and introduction section. So most of what I'm going to be looking at can be found right here with the syllabus. So we have a video that's completely appropriate and available that is the introduction from the professor, Dr. Gaudino. If we look at the syllabus, we'll be able to find pretty much everything else we need to here. So our course description, we saw the course text here, sorry. We saw, so we have our academic honesty, we have the classroom etiquette, course behavioral expectation, the outcomes for the course, pretty much everything we need right here. Now I will say that the classroom etiquette does not necessarily explain online etiquette. So that's something that maybe could be expanded on, as well as computer skills and digital literacy skills. I think could fall somewhere in the syllabus. That was something I didn't find. The minimum technology requirements for the course are also perhaps not as available as they could be. I would argue that because it's a grad course, it's a little bit different, but it might also be able to be found here in the actual university page if we take a look at some of those more general technology requirements and so on. It does outline that we will be using D2L, and obviously if you're already on D2L, then you have that technology down. The other part that it does mention here is that you need a computer with internet connection and to turn in, as well as watch videos and access readings on D2L, like I said. So if we need more specific technology requirements, it could perhaps be expanded on, but there is something general there. Academic integrity was there with our academic honesty, and yeah, it pretty much has everything we need. The prerequisite knowledge in the discipline and or required competencies is something I couldn't really find too much of, so that could be expanded on. For the learning objectives, so in the syllabus we have the general outcomes for the course. Let me skip by it. These are outlined here as well as down here, and those are referenced throughout the modules. So if we navigate to, let's say, week 2, if we navigate here, we can see that they are mentioning sort of what we need to be doing. In terms of outcomes or objectives in each module, I would say it's a little bit harder to actually see them. If we read the text, it's not explicitly stated as an objective, but I think it does highlight that, such as here, as educators, we need to be aware of the key issues, forces, and players. But I think the objectives could perhaps be more explicitly stated on each module. So each of the objectives definitely aligns to, so based on what we saw in the syllabus, it aligns to the curriculum. It makes sense for the students. So I think it does fit well. If we take a look at them, they are specific as well. So demonstrate their understanding of the political nature of public education and the dynamics of policy making in schools, and so on. It's something that works well with the topic at hand, which is education and public policy. Okay, so in terms of assessment and measurement, There is variety in the assessment, so if we look here, we'll see that there is a summary paper that we were to be working on. Going back, there was a midterm project. We were given two options, so attending a conference or selecting two people to interview. We had discussion posts, similar to what we have in this course that we're in now. More discussion posts. So there is variety, and there are, I should say, some options here and there. Okay. So another thing that I'd like to point out is that if we go to the discussion posts, so we can see that the discussion posts are aligned to certain outcomes. So here's one that says outcome number 2. Here's another one that says it addresses course outcome number 3. So in terms of assessment and measurement, I think we have learning objectives that are tied to them. Maybe it could be more explicitly stated in some of the other ones as well, but at least in a few of the discussion posts they do outline certain outcomes. The strategies that we're using definitely allow reflection. Right here we have examples of discussion posts. Completing the course, we saw that in the syllabus. The grading scale is outlined, the due dates, the point values of each assignment, they're all outlined there as well. So that's pretty clear here. And there are definitely criteria assigned for each one. So we have in the syllabus as well the discussion posts and kind of what you need to do. So in terms of the instructional materials, they certainly contribute to the achievement of the stated course. I'll just stay here for now. So we're addressing political factors, forces, in one of these discussion posts. We're talking about policy and so on. So the assignments make sense. They're integrated into the actual modules. So I'll go back here now. If we go to week 1, you can see that we have an overview video. Week 2, an overview video. Each of the videos that we're supposed to watch were integrated. And, you know, like I said before, there's a description here that kind of outlines what we'll be doing and what the activities are for. I'm not so sure about the appropriate citations. I didn't really see anything in terms of citation, unless we go to the syllabus again and look at the course text. That was definitely cited there, right here. Everything else I would say also checked out as I was looking at it. The discussion boards allow for kind of an unbiased discussion. There was no adult content or unnecessary advertisements on D2L that were covered there. In terms of learning activities and learner interaction, so the discussion posts involved learner interaction with other learners. It involves learner interaction with the professor. And in terms of learner interaction with the content, well, that's pretty much every post or every module here we can see that. So the actual content, looking at week 1, we have the overview video, we have PowerPoints, the book, and so there is interaction with the content. And then, like I said, discussion posts and papers and so on. So, the instructor responsiveness and availability and requirements for learner interaction. I'll flip back here to the syllabus and we can see that that's also outlined here. So office hours were stated by appointment using email, and then the learner interaction should be able to be found with our outlining of D2L. Okay, maybe looking at the wrong spot. Okay, so here we have an example of a response to someone else's paper. So in terms of specific activities where we're responding to other learners, it's there. We also had, like I mentioned earlier, in terms of behavioral expectations, that's also mentioned here. So I think those two things kind of tie into that. The course technology, I mean, we have videos, we had our discussion posts using D2L and whatnot, and I think all of that supports the learning objectives. And then facilitating student engagement, like I said, discussion posts, primarily doing that. Active learning for sure is there as well. And yeah, certainly no student privacy issues or confidentiality. The technology, especially when I was taking this course 2019, I think was fairly current. Nothing that I thought was outdated. The PowerPoint, I suppose, which was, I believe we just saw that in week 1. So there was a PowerPoint that we had to read through and watch the video lecture. I guess you could argue that PowerPoints are perhaps outdated, but it's still a modern technology that people use. Learner and instructor support. So I think with this one, for support and it being offered, let me go back to the syllabus. In the syllabus, we actually saw, in terms of accommodations, that is definitely in here. So here's a commitment to an inclusive community. Here's the course accommodations outlined. So I think all of that speaks to this and outlines it in detail. In terms of technology assistance, this is something that I think is pretty common, but if we go to the Resources for Student Success on the University tab, this is something that's available through D2L, so I think it kind of counts here. There is technical assistance resources here, and so if we click that, we can kind of get help with whatever. I would say that counts. Accessibility and usability. Let me head back to that page. So in terms of the course navigation being logical, consistent, efficient, intuitive, if you've used D2L before, I think it all makes sense. If not, it's easy to figure out. So we have the table of contents, and if we click that, we can kind of go through and see each of the weeks all together, or just navigating it here. Grades, assignments, and everything over here. Go to our discussions under communication. I think it's pretty easy to navigate, easy to read. I think some of this could have been formatted a little bit differently under each module to help readability a bit. Perhaps certain things being bolded differently and in smaller fonts, perhaps font consistency as well. I don't recall seeing any images that wouldn't be accessible.